Fultz. If you don't know Miss Fultz, she'll be helping me answer questions. We do have a few goodies to give you if you get some questions right, kind of engage you. I know it's early. I know English is probably the last thing you want to do at 8 o'clock in the morning, but your ACT score is where a lot of scholarships are determined, and all juniors have to take the ACT now, so we want to do as well as we can on it. You have a packet in front of you. If you don't have a packet, raise your hand, please. There's some over here in these chairs on the end. You will carry that packet to all 4 sessions this morning. There's a review sheet for each of your sessions on there. And if you will look over that before you take the ACT tomorrow, then it'll help you a great deal. And also, before you take the ACT again. So these are just some good, we're going to give you some pointers this morning. Hopefully that'll help you. First thing we want to look at is, what does the English section of the ACT look like if you haven't taken it before? There are 75 questions on the English portion, and you only have 45 minutes to do it. So some strategies. Of course, the first thing you want to do is eliminate any wrong answers. Anything that you know that can't be the answer, you want to mark those out. Another good thing that I try to teach all my students is, when you're taking a multiple choice test, if you're like me, you tend to look back and go, ooh, that's 3 A's in a row, so it can't be A, and then you change it to B. But there could be 3 A's in a row. There could be 5 B's in a row. There is no pattern to the answers on the ACT. And there's not the same number of A's and same number of B's and all that, okay? So don't look at your previous answers. Once you choose an answer, just stay with that. Answer every question. Now, when you finish, when time is called on the ACT, there's some over here, girls. When time is called on the ACT, your proctor's going to have to go and write down what question number you were on. So you can't go back and do English if you finish with math early or whatever. So you want to answer every question. When they give you that warning of there's like a minute left, fill them in, okay? Don't leave any blank, because you can't get them right if you don't guess near the end. So you want to make sure you answer every question. If you can get 48 correct on the English portion, which is just a little bit more than half, you can get a 21 sub-score on the ACT. Now, some of you all are thinking, okay, I'm going to Motlow, I already have a scholarship, all I got to do is graduate. But if you don't get a 21 in English, you might end up in a remedial class, which means you're taking that class and you won't get credit for it. And that'll use up some of your Tennessee Promise money. So then you'll end up having to pay later for that English class. So you want to get at least these minimum scores that we talk about. 24 sub-score, usually on the composites where some scholarships start. And then actually a 29 or higher, you can get extra money on the Hope Scholarship for the merit portion of that. So let's look at, first of all, we want to talk about punctuation. That's always on the English portion. Colons. If you don't remember anything else up here on this slide, remember that we never use a colon after a verb or after a preposition. Mainly the words including or such as. We never use a colon after those. So if you see a colon on the ACT, look at it. If it's following a verb or preposition, it's wrong. Okay? Colons are used to indicate a list that follows. Looking at the example up here on your on the video screen, it says 3 sports will be cut from the budget: tennis, wrestling, and swimming. We have our colon there to indicate our list that's coming. We also use colons for other reasons. You probably won't see like time or title and subtitle on the ACT. More than likely it'll be in a sentence there. So if you look at your example sentences here, oops, sorry. We'll come back to that. Let's go ahead and talk about semicolons, then we'll do the examples. A semicolon separates 2 independent clauses. Who can tell me the difference between a clause and a phrase? Raise your hand. Miss Lacey's got a piece, Miss Fultz got a piece of bubble gum for you. Heather Bishop, what's the difference in a clause and a phrase?
A clause has a subject and a verb.
A clause always has a subject and a verb. Who can tell me the difference between a dependent clause and an independent clause? Taylor.
A dependent clause relies on basically like another part to make it a whole.
Exactly. A dependent clause cannot stand alone. It needs something else to make a sentence. So semicolons 95% of the time are going to separate 2 independent clauses. So on each side of your semicolon, you should have a sentence on both sides. So keep that in mind when you see a semicolon on the ACT. Is there a sentence on both sides of it? Most of the time, that's what semicolons do. The only other thing they do is when we already have items that are separated by commas, we use a semicolon to separate those categories. Looking up here at the video screen, the officers were John Smith, president, Dale Jones, vice president, Haley Wines, treasurer. If we just had commas in there instead of semicolons, then it would be hard. Is Dale Jones president or is he vice president? But 95% of the time, semicolons are going to separate independent clauses. Last year, my seniors told me there were a lot of dashes on the punctuation part. Fellas, if you all like to come and teach, I'd be glad to let you. A dash indicates a break in the normal flow of a sentence, okay? So if you need to pause, you might need a dash there. It can set off non-essential elements. Raise your hand and tell me what non-essential means. Who can tell me what non-essential means? Over here.
Anything not needed.
Not needed. Very good, Ryan. If it's not needed, we set it off with commas sometimes, but we can also use dashes to set that off. So if we look up here at the first example, I was amazed by the slam dunk from the free throw line, but who wasn't? We went from a sentence to a question, so we use a dash. By the way, lots of upsets in the college basketball yesterday if you weren't watching. Non-essential, Mr. Adams is a cobbler, and then we have a shoemaker. Most people would know that a cobbler is a shoemaker, so that's not needed. Colons indicate a list that follows. A dash comes after a list. A helmet, a light, extra batteries and gloves, dash, all of these will be useful in the cave. So we have colons, semicolons, and dashes. Number one, let's all do it together. It's on your packet there. Who can tell me what punctuation mark I need in this sentence? Colon, semicolon, or dash? It's a trick question. Who can tell me what we need? Taylor, your hand's up again. Do you really need anything? Why don't I need a colon after R? Because it's a verb. We do not need a colon in this sentence, guys, because R is a verb and our list follows a verb. The second one, she cannot find any money. She cannot find any money. She cannot buy the ring. Who can tell me what punctuation mark I need in that sentence? Back here, Brianna. Need a semicolon. Where? Why? Okay, good. We have two independent clauses. Number three, we will bring these items for the hike, snacks, water, and walking sticks. Do I need a punctuation mark? Got to raise your hand. Got to raise your hand. Taylor, Jaya.
You need a semicolon after hike because a colon after hike because it's a list.
Good. We need a colon after hike because we have a list, and hike in this case is a noun. He will be lost since he doesn't have a GPS. What punctuation mark do I need in that sentence? Another trick question. Taylor, you're going to get all the bubble gum today. Come on, y'all. Don't let Taylor have it all. What is it, Taylor? It is correct. It is correct. Now, if you raise your hand and I don't see it, then let Ms. Fultz know. We don't need a comma here. Guys, for some reason, at some point in education, we pick up the idea that if you have the word because or since in a sentence, you need a comma with it. You don't need a comma with it unless that dependent clause is at the beginning of the sentence. If someone came up to you and said, since he doesn't have a GPS, and walked away, if they just said, since he doesn't have a GPS, would that make any sense? No, so that's a dependent clause. Now, if that clause had come at the beginning, if it had said, since he doesn't have a GPS, he'll be lost, then we'd need a comma after it. The last one, I caught the snake, therefore I proved I could go. Punctuation mark, anybody? Right here. He says a comma after therefore, and he's absolutely right. We do need a comma after therefore, but we need something else. What else do we need?
A semicolon before therefore.
We need a semicolon before therefore. Why?
Because it's two separate.
Two separate independent clauses. Two independent clauses. Anybody have questions about colons, semicolons, dashes? How many of you already learned something this morning? Come on, make me feel a little bit good at least. Jeez. I'm working hard. All right. We know there are lots of comma rules, and there's no way in 45 minutes that we could cover all the other stuff we need to cover. So we're going to hit on the main comma rules. We've already talked about independent clauses. We can't just stick a comma between two independent clauses unless it has a coordinating conjunction with it. Can anybody tell me the difference between subordinating conjunctions and coordinating conjunctions? What's another word for a dependent clause? Somebody said it. Say it louder. Subordinate clause. Subordinate clauses are introduced by subordinating conjunctions or relative pronouns. Who can give me some subordinating conjunctions? Any subordinating conjunctions. I just told you two of them that sometimes we stick commas with and we shouldn't. Since, because, if, while, when. Those are subordinating conjunctions. And then we have coordinating conjunctions. Words like and, but, for. What acronym have you all been taught to remember coordinating conjunctions? Fanboys. For, and, nor. But. Those are coordinating conjunctions. So we always use a comma if we have two independent clauses and a coordinating conjunction. Now, if we look right here, your answers are correct, but you did the wrong exercise. If somebody said you did the wrong exercise, does that make sense? Yes. And because we have a coordinating conjunction with it, okay, we need a comma there. What other punctuation mark could we use if we eliminated but in that sentence? A semicolon, because we have two independent clauses. Now, sometimes when your sentences or your independent clauses are short, we don't always use a comma. We use commas for